The Maltese vegan. Recently in Malta there has been the launch of the new diabetes strategy. Um, I imagine it's a discussion on the way that the government is deciding, together with other social partners, is deciding to tackle the problem of diabetes, which is, at least in Malta, is on the rise. And together with this, there's also this obviously topical article talking about diabetes. So yes, I mean, it starts off saying that diet and lifestyle is very important. Perfectly agree. Much better than saying the only solution is with medication, insulin, etc. In fact, from the little I've heard of what the strategy is going to involve, all I've heard was pharma, medicine, and how to inform potential diabetics to realize that they are diabetics or not, which is kind of the same strategy which they use for breast cancer, early detection rather than prevention. So yes, it's saying that it's on the rise, but here it starts off by saying something which I was just surprised that it would actually say such a thing. For decades we were under the impression that dietary animal fat were unhealthy, and health authorities around the world advised low fat and high grain diets. I mean, since when, in which lifetime, in which world was this ever happening? As far as I know, what we have always believed is that diabetes is a cause of high sugar intake, of high carbs. Since when? I mean, ask anyone in the street or any diabetic. I have an uncle who's diabetic. I know other people who are diabetic. None of them will even think of the possibility that, well, animal-based products or the fats themselves or any fats could be the cause of diabetes. No one thinks of that. So why would you even say that? It's actually, say, you're saying the author is actually saying the opposite of what is the case right now. What we do know, what we're discovering now, is the fact that diabetes is being caused by fats, especially animal fats, and that high grain, high carb diets are actually good for you and low fat is bad. So he's completely twisting things around. I mean, tell me about the rural regions, especially, who practically subsist on rice and grains, where diabetes doesn't even exist. Makes no sense. And then the classic mistake, I'm hoping it's ignorance rather than malicious, but it is perhaps not sufficiently appreciated that foods based on grains, and these are the examples that are given: bread, pasta, pizza, biscuits, pastries, and also rice and potato. So let's start with bread. High sodium, and in many cases, especially when it's refined flour that's used for the bread, it's also high fat. Not to mention the fact that we blame bread, but we generally never have bread on its own. We always put some topping on it. And what does that topping tend to be? At least in the mainstream Western population, it's either some sort of processed meat, for example ham, or butter, or cheese. The three of which are processed and, most alarmingly, high in fat. Saturated fat, in fact. and even worse, the damaging kind of fat and animal protein. Pasta. What is the most common thing we put on pasta? If you say, yeah, we just put tomato sauce in it, you always put cheese too. You probably always also put olive oil on top, high fat. I don't think you've been eating pasta on its own. That's I wouldn't believe you if you told me that. You would put pasta alternatively with some cream sauce, a cheesy sauce, all high fat. Pizza, high carb, true, but also high fat, covered in cheese, sometimes drizzled with oil. Always, or no, not always, but sometimes with pepperoni or some sort of meat on it. All high fat. Biscuits, even known for their trans fats. So, in fact, they are mostly fat. Even if it's not in grams, it's in calories. Because you probably know that 1 gram of fat has 9 calories, while 1 gram of carb is 4 calories. Pastries, do I need to even go there? Rice and potato. Here, yes, I might not be able to say you never eat rice on its own, although in most cases you don't. Potato, even less, but still, I'm almost sure that here we're lumping in rice with X topping. For example, there's a traditional Maltese dish which has egg and meat in it. We probably, for example, I've been to an Indian restaurant recently. It was swimming in oil. The rice was swimming in oil. So again, we're lumping one thing, a single ingredient, which tends to always be mixed with something else, and generally that is a high fat thing. Like, for example, risotto, rice. But is it the rice that makes you fat, or is it the cream or the cheese or the butter that needs to be put in risotto? Well, I say needs. That's what chefs say, but that's because they're not adventurous enough in trying it in some other way. Potato, most common way we eat potato. Fries, maybe in the oven, always drizzled with oil. So that's when it's baked. Even the healthiest option, which tends, or at least what we usually think as the healthiest, jacket potato. So a whole potato on the skin. What do you put in it? A slab of butter. Always fat. At least, the good thing that in this case, fruits were not lumped in this, because what happens sometimes is we focus on the macronutrient, carbs, then we lump anything that has these carbs in, including a banana or some other fruit. So just from the fact that there have been civilizations, the longest lasting civilizations, who have survived just on carbs, some of them warriors. In the Star Solution, there's also mentioned about the gladiators being practically vegetarian or vegan and subsisting on grains like barley. In fact, they were known as the barley men. These were healthy, other than obviously the obvious wounds that they sustained during their battles. On the other hand, you have the few in the history books who were kings, pharaohs, noblemen, and they always ended up dying of some sort of obesity-related disease, which includes diabetes. When you see some portrait of them, they always tend to be fat, or at least have a pot belly. But then you always see the skinnier people, the peasants, those who had to live on the cheapest form of calories, rice, beans, and other grains. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and click the subscribe button below if you want to keep watching my videos.